We as Christians like to do two things to get the gospel across. What do? We preach sermons and answer questions. What did Jesus do?
Hi there, guys.
Hi everyone.
This is Wes, and Wes Fittell has been in kids ministry for how many years?
Over 40 years.
Over 40 years!
Yeah, I don't like to think how many more.
Anyway, today he's been doing a training session, and so I'm going to be uploading some parts of his training session. So enjoy!
One of the great things about teaching is questions. And you can ask questions for a whole lot of different reasons. What are some of the reasons that we might be asking questions in a class with kids when we're teaching?
Clarification.
For clarification, yes.
To understand where the child is at.
Okay. Yeah, very important to listen to kids. And one of the things that we need to learn to do is to, get feedback. It's very important to find out after you think you've got something across what is being understood and what is being retained. Now, very important. Okay, to get their opinions, yes, opinions are really important. Okay, any other reasons?
Background knowledge.
Background knowledge, yes, yeah. Now, you want to find out where the kids are at, what they know, what they understand, and also how they are tying that in with what you do. I love it when I hear kids recounting a lesson that I've taught. And it gives me a reality check. I can remember when my son was growing up, one of the things that I used to love to do is when we picked up his friends after something or other, a cricket match, a football match or something, and be driving home, and a lot of the time I wouldn't say a word, but I'd just listen to the boys talking, and I found out a lot of things about my son that I wouldn't just by asking him. But also, I found out where these kids were at. I heard more about what they were interested in, and that allowed me to tune my teaching to get closer to their interests. One of the amazing things is, I remember reading a book once that said, we as Christians like to do two things to get the gospel across. What do? We preach sermons and answer questions. What did Jesus do? He told stories and asked questions. And questions are amazing learning tools. They are amazing teaching tools. And good questions, and these are some of the sort of questions that Jesus asked. Good questions are open-ended, non-judgmental, stimulating and succinct. Open-ended questions? What do you think about? Yes. Can't be solved with a pat answer. Here's one of Jesus' says. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye? Pay no attention to the plank in your own. What's the answer? The thing is not the answer, it's the question. And it's the question that gets you thinking. Okay? Non-judgmental, no single right answer. Why are you troubled? Why do doubts arise in your minds? Okay? And then there's the stimulating ones that stir and challenge the emotions. If Satan drives out Satan, he's divided against himself. How then can his kingdom stand? And if I drive out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your people drive them out? Good question. Makes you think. Okay? And then the succinct ones. Why do you doubt? Again, he's not looking for an answer, but he's looking to think, because you see, we learn when these grey cells are turned on and are processing information. Our job as teachers is not to just stand up and give the answers, but to have kids thinking about the questions, seeing what they can do about finding those answers, and then also seeing how they then can think about how they apply some of those answers and how they see the relevance of the message that we're communicating. we're going to talk a little bit about questioning technique. Now, what's the normal approach for asking questions in a class? Anyone got an idea? Okay, yeah, and that happened here automatically. Okay, we've got a few hands up. Can I suggest that's not the best approach? There are times when it's appropriate to be looking for hands up, looking for information, just finding out what the kids know. And it could be something that you might want to know, that the kids know but you don't. Can you think of a good question that you might want to ask early in your time with your kids, where they have the answer better than you do? Yeah, that's a very good one. The rules. What are the rules of this classroom? You know, if you're going into a school where you're with a regular class who are together all the time, they've got their classroom dynamic. Don't you create your own rules? Ask them. They'll tell you what the rules are, and then you help them apply them. But don't choose the first person who responds, because this is the sort of kid who's going to respond first. The real smart kid whose brain is just whizzing like anything, who loves to just be noticed anyhow, and he'll put his hand up and he'll put his hand up, and while he's doing that, there's going to be some other kid in the class who just thinks, how did he get an answer that quickly? And I'm still trying to work out what that teacher's question means. What happens to that child after a while, the second one? They give up, don't they? And after a while you'll find even if they know the answer, they're not going to put their hand up, because there's no point. Little smart guy's going to get the answer first all the time. So you don't even try to think. And so what happens is 90% of the class don't think about the questions being asked because they're not the answerers. So I want to suggest a far better questioning technique, and generally this is what is being taught actually for teachers these days as the best way to use questions effectively. First thing, pose the question. Come up with a good question. And I'm saying, here's my question, why should I not get hands up? That's the question I'm posing, and I'm not asking you to answer it right now. But I'm going to ask for some of you to answer it soon. Okay? Because once you've posed the question, the next thing to do, if you've got a good question and if you want to use it effectively, is once you've posed, pause. Give everybody, even the slow brain kids, a chance to think about it. You might even give them time to think up more than one answer. And then after you've paused, your next thing is not to look for hands up, but to pounce on, down at the end here, I wonder if you got an answer to why we shouldn't ask for hands up.
Because the right person always answers first.
Okay, that's a very good answer. Okay, yeah. Has someone got any other aspect on it?
I was just going to say, give someone else a go and boost their confidence and gets them engaged.
Yeah, yeah. So now, can you see, we're already starting to see that happen here, aren't we? The majority of the questions should be ones that kids can answer, but it's actually not bad to occasionally have something that's also taking it to a higher level, and you'll see that in a minute as we go through. Because, you know, the first thing we do is pounce. Now, sometimes the person that you pounce on may not be able to answer the question. They have not yet come up with an answer. Okay? What you do then is you bounce. You bounce to someone else and ask that other person the question, but before you do, you say to the first person, think about the other answers that come up with and see if you can come up with a better one, or think about what the best one's going to be. Because the important thing, again, is not always getting right answers.
Yes.
The important thing is to get those little brain cells going and to have people thinking about the issues. That's what you're wanting to do. you look at those questions we showed that Jesus asked, he didn't need the answers. No, it was to cause people to think, because it's when we think that we learn. So you bounce, and then ultimately you return to one of those people who couldn't come up with an answer, and give them a chance to either, if by this time they have their answer, they can give you one, or if not, they can give you their evaluation on some of the other answers they've heard.
Some children may have no background on the Bible and their knowledge is really limited. So if, however, you ask them, well, how do you think he felt? That's how they think he felt. There's no right and there's no wrong. So they don't feel threatened with that. It's not that they have to know who all the disciples were or anything like that, but they can tell you how they thought Peter felt when he stepped out into, out of the boat onto the water and he started to think. How do you think he felt? How would you have felt? So you can ask different questions, ones that are a bit more, where there may be a bit more structured right answer, but other ones open-ended that they can.
But can you see how this approach can take questioning from just being a farming for information from kids to being something where the whole class is getting involved, and in a sense they're getting involved together. And once you start having these periods of saying, I'm not looking for hands up, all of a sudden everyone gets put on notice, because they know that you're likely to choose them, because what you do is you have a mental thing of where you're going around sort of systematically through the group and making sure that everyone is going to get asked to answer the question. And it does it in a non-threatening and gentle sort of way, because you're not marked down, you're not made to feel like an idiot if you don't come up with an answer or don't come up with a really brilliant answer. But everyone gets a chance to get involved. Actually, one of the processes that we had when we were working with kids in after-school programs and holiday programs is we have these little cards where kids get holes punched in their card for attendance and for learning memory verse and doing other things. But also if they get involved and answer questions, as soon as someone answers a question, one of the team members just grabs their card and gives them a bonus clip. And it was really funny because we were in America running a kids' holiday program in Yorkburg. I think you know the story.
Yeah. And one kid was just so impressed. He'd heard some Colin Buchanan music, and that's why he'd come in. The next day he came back with his friend, and he says, just put your hand up, even if you don't know the answer. Have a go, because you can get some points. And it was really lovely because he didn't feel threatened in any way. It wasn't that anybody else is going to judge us for not knowing any of this stuff. And they just got so engaged.
Yeah. So the encouragement for the kid wasn't to get the right answer, but to get involved. Can you see that? And that's what you're wanting. It's the involvement. Let's just say this one more time together. Here we go. Jesus said, I'm going to prepare a place for you. John chapter 14, verse 2. Terrific. We're going to move from there to the memory process. And this is something that's always intrigued me. How does our brain work and how do we remember stuff?
Hey guys, did you enjoy some of that training? If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you'd like more ideas like this, go ahead and subscribe. And I want to thank you, Wes. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. I love doing this.